everyone. Welcome back to Three Techies. I'm a Shay Techie, you're a Shay Techie, and he's Sue Techie. Let's get into it. So, how do you feel about sexism?
Sexism. It's a heavy topic.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I feel like for sexism, it's mainly, I guess, pointed towards like, oh, inequalities and like all these benefits that men have. And I agree. Like, as a guy, clearly. I like. Yeah, I agree. We have some benefits, but similarly, in the same way, um, girls they have benefits too. Women they sometimes have better chances with men because they're women, or even in other ways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like the discrepancies between the sexes kind of shows, especially with sexism. You can see the kind of like divide between like our nation and the countries and stuff just because of the gender. And now, yeah, it truly does. Like with jobs, you have to understand like if you're a man or if you're a woman, you might have a higher chance of getting it. Like doctors, they prefer men, but for nurses, they normally prefer women. So when a man tries to be a nurse, it's like looked down upon, or they don't want to take them as much. And then it's like gets flipped. But that's like it's very similar to the fact it's like kind of like racism in that sort of aspect too, where it's like they're denying you because of your like what you identify as and what you are, but it's the same fact as like it's discrimination. But have you ever felt sexism before?
Um, I'd say not me personally. Maybe I've encountered different scenarios with like, let's say some teachers favoriting female students and the teacher being a woman, or like vice versa for a man. Um, or like maybe even like what sometimes in elementary school, um, sports, how the prime lead examples would be guys instead of girls, and like how I felt about that. It didn't really impact me much because I know those are trivial things, but I know that those trivial things can lead up to like that's like the root cause of like a lot of issues we face today regarding sexism. You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. That also kind of like that's kind of like the basis of like early childhood sexism. Like that's like kind of like the origins of it and how like we see it rooted so early on. Like even through elementary school, the favoritism is still technically sexism, and it's still this like, oh yeah, we want the guys for this, we want the girls for this, kind of belittling both sexes and letting them know like you're not going to be better than the other one, and you're not going to be seen as equal to it. Even though in this society we have like equal rights and all this stuff, it kind of hits back to the fact that we're teaching our kids to not be equal with one another, like sex, race, anything. We're kind of holding them at different standards, which like belittles them at an early age and kind of sets our society as it is today. I mean, like you said, like we're a very like sexist, like terrible society. It's kind of just like kind of running ourselves into the ground in a way with the fact that we're starting so early, and it's like showing how, it's like no matter what you do, like whatever people see on the outside matters more than what you are on the inside, and like what you can do with jobs, with school, with education, with teachers, with like getting a career. You can't do it the same because of who you are. With that, like kind of continuing on to that point, do you feel like our world's been getting worse or better with sexism?
I feel like definitely there's a lot more awareness now, like generally with like different movements, like different ways of advocating, and like a whole bunch of different like. There's a bunch of different ways that people have taken initiative to bring light to the topic that, let's say, 20, 30 years beforehand wasn't brought up as much, because it's still recent that women, they got the right to vote and freedom of speech and all that. That's, if you want to say it, literally throughout history, we've seen that our society was heavily sexist. Definitely, to say the least. And I just feel like now, I'm not saying that it's perfect, that it's gotten so much better, because truth be told, it hasn't. It's just like, it's gotten better than what it was before, but it's still not to where I feel like it could be.
Yeah, no, Sam, I totally agree with that. I feel like we could be better, but I feel like lately we have been like either staying where we are or kind of going backwards with the times of like in history we're like, yeah, we can vote, but what can we do with that vote? Do our voices really have power? And it kind of takes me back to when Kamala was trying to run for president, and how a lot of people are like, I refuse to vote for her because she's a woman. And that whole standpoint is like, I mean, you should just take a step back. Like, forget that she's a woman. Forget that he's a man. Remember what they're standing for. They're supposed to be supporting America, supposed to be supporting the people. And if you can't have a woman defending you and, like, being the person of your country, then what type of country are you? I mean, America's one of the only countries that hasn't ever had a woman fully in power. I mean, the UK's done it, Asia has done it, Spain has done it, and there's more people in, like, monarchies and governments around the world where there's women with power positions, but America is, like, stalling and, like, slowing behind with that progress, and we're, like, losing the whole idea of, like, yeah, we gave them the rights, but we're, like, taking it back.
I feel like it's also like a pride thing. Like a lot of guys, like from my experience at least, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I feel like a lot of guys, they have pride issues. Like, let's say a woman beats them at something. You really let a woman beat you in that?
Yeah.
I don't even know. That's not for. I don't know. It's a whole bunch of like minor trivial things that just have you really thinking like, how bad are we as a society?
Yeah, no, for sure. It kind of shows that, like, exactly that, like, we're, like, kind of going back to being, like, a terrible bad society. We're just hating everyone and we're being rude and we're, like, belittling someone. Even with the smallest comments, it's still, like, it still means a lot to those people who are hearing it. Like, yes, like, oh, yeah, a woman beat you. Okay, a person beat you. You know, like, it doesn't matter, like, who it really is. And I feel like at that same point, it hurts both sexes in that way. Like, it doesn't just hurt women, it hurts men to that point, because you're telling them, like, well, because a woman beat you, you're terrible. Like, now you're trash. Now you're nothing because you let a woman beat you. So it, like, kind of depreciates both sexes at the same time at this statement. It kind of shows, like, where are we as a country? Where are we as the world? You know, like, we're letting ourselves beat each other down and keep going to this, like, tunnel and keep going down to the point of it's like, we're all humans, so what's the point? Like, why are we fighting each other and, like, belittling each other based on sex? I mean, race is also just terrible as well. Like, racism needs to stop. But, like, sexism, that's been happening for forever, and we just let it happen. I mean, even though it is biology-based, that doesn't mean we can't, you know, break the molds with that, you know? Like, we separate our women and our men in sports, which makes sense, because, you know, we separate them to the point that they're not equal anymore. It's, like, beyond, like, there's no equality if there's separation. And I feel like with that, we kind of show that, like, you know, both sides are getting hurt with that same, like, sexism mindset in the comments and everything. I don't know if you've heard of the term reverse sexism, but, like, at least, like, into today's world, a lot of men don't, like, they don't feel that the word sexism works for them when they're facing discrimination from women, so they use the term reverse sexism because stereotypically sexism is men against women. But at the same point, that also belittles them because it shows men don't feel the same way that women do when they're getting, like, harassed. Yeah. But how does that, like, make you feel?
I don't know. I feel like the term as a whole should be something fine. It isn't supposed to be like pinpointed gender to gender. It should just be like a term as a whole. Same thing for racism. You wouldn't say. I mean, I guess there's different like sub properties of racism as well as discrimination and sexism, but like it shouldn't be like separated, if that makes sense. Because I feel like you're only reinforcing that idea. You're only reinforcing that idea by creating that separation, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, it kind of basically shows that, like, we're further separating ourselves as sexist because you don't even use the same term to describe the same discrimination. It's just flipped. Even though, yeah, you could use the term reverse, but it's not reverse. It's still sexism, men versus women, women versus men. But also, men and women do it to each other, like, you know, just as simply as breathing. You know, they say, like, oh, why'd you do this? Like, you joke around. Or you do this. Or it's like, oh, like, you're dating a guy. Or, like, you're talking to a guy. Why are you talking to a guy? Or, like, women are like, oh, this, oh, that. They're like, oh, you went on a date with a guy instead of someone else. Or you're talking to this, you're talking to that. And guys do the same thing. They depreciate themselves. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm hanging out with my guys. It's like, oh, I'm hanging out with, like, a girl. And everyone's like, oh, whoa, like, that's a big problem, you know? It's like they take these, like, stereotypes and this hate, and then they try to make it into, like, these gender norms, or like men have to hang out with men and women hang out with women, and any sort of mix, whether it's for any reason or just out of habit or just, coincidence, it's a big problem. It's like we're kind of further going into that like separate but equal kind of standpoint, but we're not equal at all. That whole like segregation mindset. But have you ever like thought about like the future of the world, like if it could not be sexist anymore?
I feel like, honestly, I feel like there would be more of a separation if there was no sexism, because it's like then people, instead of wanting to coin the term or like use it in the sense to where like, oh, I'm not doing this because it's sexist, or I'm not doing that because it's not sexist, I don't know. I feel like it would further reinforce the fact that, oh, my guys are my guys, your girls are your girls, and the only time we would ever communicate or cross paths is if we want something with each other. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the idea of sexism is, gender-based hate, if that makes sense. And without that gender-based hate, I feel like the divide wouldn't, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just like...
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, it's like, I get the same way. It's like, it'd be so much more separate that we kind of basically isolate ourselves based on gender. To the point where, like you said, we wouldn't ever meet unless we really needed something. And I guess the one thing we are needed for, men and women have to meet, is to produce more offspring. So the only reason that we would talk to each other again in years to come, let's say sexism is gone, the gender norms still be in place. They've been built on for generations and generations, to the point where it's just like, we can't get rid of it anymore. So yeah, even if the word disappears, it'll still be there deep and rooted with us from when we're children to when we're older, to how people view us, to who takes care of us when we're older. It's the women taking care of the elderly family members, or it's the women raising the younger siblings, or it's this and that, or it's the men having to be adult and take care of everything. And it's like, sexism is the root of everything, and if we could get rid of it, I agree with you. I don't think it would get better. I think it would get worse. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the podcast. We'll see you next time.